What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue with our more longer format discussion-based videos where we take a character that doesn't really get a whole lot of highlight besides my videos and other YouTubers' videos on the subject, but more of an obscure Star Wars character. We will be talking today about one of the most ancient Sith Lords that we've ever discussed on the channel, one of my personal favorite, and I think by far the most requested character in the comments down below for this series. That character is the ancient Sith Lord, the unrivaled lightsaber duelist, what many people consider to be the absolute best lightsaber duelist in all of Star Wars. That is the Sith Lord Tulak Hord. So,
what an introduction.
Thank you. So, just for introductions on Tulak Hord, like I said, he reigned during the time of the ancient Sith Order. A time where conflicts with the Jedi were frequent, but more frequent were conflicts within the Sith Order itself. So Sith Lords were constantly battling each other for dominance and for power, and Tulak Hord was one of the first Sith Lords in all of Star Wars that actually united the Sith under a single banner.
Yeah, he introduced a structure to it because he was the first person to make the Sith fall under the rule of one Sith Lord. But before that, it was just kind of chaos. And he's an incredibly powerful Sith, and there's a good reason for him to be the one that they all united under. Most notably because he was not only incredibly powerful within the Force, but he was also unrivaled in combat. He's never once lost a lightsaber duel. So he definitely had a prowess over other Sith that nobody else had at the time.
Right, and unlike other Sith Lords, Tulak Hord actually lived for hundreds of years. Because in the days of the more ancient Jedi and ancient Sith, a Jedi or a Sith could feasibly live hundreds of years. We've seen it with Yoda, but again, kind of the more pure-blooded or half-blooded Sith Lords, they had extremely long lifespans. So as Tulak Hord was a younger man, he solely focused on training for combat because he knew once he mastered his lightsaber style and his mastery of the Force, which kind of came secondary, admittedly, even to himself, he knew that once he could show his feat on the battlefield and even in one-on-one combat, those that he chose to leave alive would be so impressed with him that they would fall under his banner and follow him to the ends of the galaxy, really, because they were just so impressed with how unrivaled in lightsaber combat that he was. And while other Sith Lords were infighting, he was practicing a lot during his early years.
Yeah, even Sith Lords down the line, hundreds of years after Tulak Hord, admired him for his strength, and even the Sith Lord Darth Treya once made a comment saying that compared to the old Sith, the ancient Sith, that the current Sith just looked like people playing with toys compared to, especially Tulak Hord.
Yeah, Tulak Hord specifically is the individual that she's talking about. And she actually tells this to Mitra Surik for that time period, which would still be considered Old Republic and more modern Star Wars. I kind of break it up. It's like ancient, Old Republic, and then more Clone Wars era stuff. That's kind of how I break it up in my head. But again, she said the more ancient Sith Lords were unrivaled, and that, like you said, that the Old Republic era Sith Lords would be like people playing with toys compared to him. Tulak Hord was so impressive, he was never defeated a single recorded time in a lightsaber duel. This is a Sith Lord that's in constant battles also. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about his specific feats, other than the fact that during one occasion, he nearly single-handedly was able to wipe out like 100 Jedi.
Wow.
Like, I'm sure he had forces behind him at that point, but it's recorded that he on his own killed about 100 Jedi. He used Form 2 Makashi. He was actually one of the pioneers of Form 2 lightsaber combat, which is one of the major reasons why he was so successful in lightsaber combat, because Makashi is the form tailored specifically for lightsaber combat.
Yeah, it's the same form that Count Dooku uses.
Right. So in my head, I kind of believe that a lot of Sith Lords in this era, they might have used Form 1, and so when Tulak Hord showed up as like a master of Form 2, it makes sense why he would beat 100% of them 100% of the time.
Yeah, especially because it's like, not only is he just so much more advanced in lightsaber combat, but like even take that away and he's still way more advanced in the Force. He was incredibly powerful in the Force.
Right. He has a Force feat where he like ripped a starship out of orbit. And one of his friends, Kem Val, actually said how impressive that was and how impressed he was with Tulak Hord's manipulation over the Force. Also, as I've detailed on the channel before, Tulak Hord used the Force to amplify his lightsaber abilities. Something that was he was considered a pioneer in that field as well. He made his lightsaber crystal more powerful and more dangerous than as a normal lightsaber crystal, which therefore made his lightsaber more powerful and more deadly.
Yeah, didn't he like imbued it with like force lightning, right?
Right.
And then that not only made the lightsaber, just more powerful, but it made it so he was able to even like cast out force lightning with his lightsaber, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And we saw that even later on in the timeline. Most recently, Starkiller used that as well. He kind of took on what Tulak Hord had done, but Tulak Hord was the first one pretty much in the timeline to have done that. He's also one of the Sith Lords that kind of put away a Sith sword and truly favored his lightsaber over a Sith sword. This is kind of the era where a lot of Sith Lords still used the ancient Sith swords, but Tulak Hord firmly believed that a lightsaber was the superior weapon.
Yeah.
He was also, like I said earlier, really, really skilled in telekinesis specifically. He could rip entire ships out of the sky, stuff that we've only seen from, like, Legends Yoda. Something I do want to talk about with Tulak Hord, though, is he's really difficult to compare to more modern Sith Lords or Jedi like Yoda and Darth Vader, just because we don't have a lot of specific details on the feats.
Yeah. There's a lot less to know about him as of right now.
Right, so when a character like Darth Vader, not only do we know that he killed a whole bunch of Jedi, but we know how he killed a whole bunch of Jedi. Whereas Tulak Hord, it just simply says that like it happened and that he was undefeated. We don't really know the specifics of how.
Yeah.
So it's hard to dictate exactly how a character like Tulak Hord would like fare against a character like Darth Sidious or Darth Vader or Yoda. I definitely don't think that, like a lot of people suggest, Tulak Hord would just blow through them. Because, again, it's specifically said at multiple sources, at multiple points in time, that Darth Sidious is the most powerful Sith Lord that's ever lived.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would consider Tulak Hord the most powerful, just, again, because we don't know the details on his feats. With that said, though, I don't think that it would be a stretch because of the fact that he was never defeated, that you could sort of tentatively place him as the most powerful or the best lightsaber duelist of any Sith Lord ever. Because as we've expressed multiple times before, just because you're the best lightsaber duelist doesn't mean you're the most powerful.
Yeah. And Tulak Hord, I'm sure, would be a victim of the amount of knowledge he would have if he were to go against, say, Sidious, because Sidious lives in a time where there's, now 7 different forms of lightsaber combat and just a much more expansive knowledge on the Force and the things you could do with it. So I'm sure if, like, they were to go head-to-head, like, obviously I think Sidious would come out on top, which Sidious is the most powerful one, so, like, that's maybe not the most fair comparison. But even other Sith of the time, say Count Dooku, who was also a master of form too, how do you think he would fare against somebody like Count Dooku?
I just think because of the fact that Tulak Hord was never defeated, it's something that I would have to go with Tulak Hord maybe.
Yeah.
But again, Dooku was rarely defeated, and when he was defeated, it was by like an individual like the Chosen One, Anakin.
Yeah.
Or like Grandmaster Yoda. It's really, really hard to dictate. But with that said, you can't take away from the fact that Tulak Hord is like one of the only characters in all of Star Wars that remains completely undefeated.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've brought this up yet, but his apprentice feared him so much that he stabbed him in the back.
Yeah.
Because he knew, even as Tulak Hord was an older man, that he could never hope to stop him in one-on-one combat.
Yeah.
So it's almost impossible to say. I mean, I think that he definitely may have a chance against Darth Sidious, again, for the simple fact that he was never defeated. And he was a master at Sith sorcery, a master at telekinesis. Again, like you pointed out, he doesn't know a whole bunch of the deeper, darker mysteries of the Force that were sort of pioneered by Revans and Banes as he existed like centuries before these characters. But I don't know. It would still be really close. If somebody conceivably had Tulak Hord as their most powerful Sith Lord ever, that's something that I don't think I could argue really effectively.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that he on my list is my most powerful Sith Lord ever. I definitely think Sidious is, but like I said, if somebody conceivably had them as number 1 on theirs, I don't think I could really raise a point that would go against that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, like, he's definitely left his mark in the Star Wars universe as this incredibly powerful character. Obviously, just, like, The only issue with it right now is just how little we know about him. He actually makes the Legends terminology make a lot of sense regarding his character. But he's definitely like an absolute pioneer in the way that the Sith operate, and is a pioneer in not only lightsaber combat, but just how powerful Sith could truly be, to even inspire Sith centuries down the line to tell stories of him and mock their own power as like just inferior to him.
Right.
He's really cool in that
We
way.
knew that a Sith Lord like Revan held him in high esteem, and then Darth Treya, which I believe that because at one point Treya was Revan's master as a Jedi, I think that she probably told him a lot of the stories of Tulak Hord.
Yeah, even leading him to like raid Tulak Hord's tomb.
Yeah, and take his lightsaber.
Take his lightsaber, yeah.
Another thing I want to point out about Tulak Hord is in Legends continuity, he's one of the few Sith Lords that actually manifested as a Sith spirit. Something that we know Sith cannot do in Star Wars canon, but they can in Legends. It's kind of shaky exactly how they do that in Star Wars Legends, but we know that he did. So that's another thing that I want to point out. Overall, Tulak Hord, really interesting character, one of my favorite ancient Sith Lords ever, just because of the fact that he was never defeated and held in such high esteem. It's also should be pointed out that a lot of the history on Tulak Hord was destroyed during multiple battles with the Jedi. So even within the universe, we don't really know a lot about him. But I think your comment about him being a legend was really interesting. Like we've said before, individuals like Achilles or individuals that existed in our real world, their legends have sort of been embellished over time, and they're built up to be more powerful or to sound more fearsome than they really were, which I don't think is impossible, something that could have happened with Tulak Hord. But nonetheless, you have to take it at what is actually written down by the ancient Sith Lords, and what was written down is that he was never defeated.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all we have to say about the character of Tulak Hord. He was the most suggested one in the comments by far. If you guys have another character, Sith Lord, Ancient Jedi, any character that you guys want to see explored, please leave that in the comments down below. And if you guys enjoy these long discussion format videos, please leave a like because it helps us out a great deal. Anyway, my friends, may the Force be with you and have a great day.